Wait, so what was your question?
Okay, so what do you think is the hardest thing for people right after they reach financial independence and they retire early?
The hardest thing is not getting that paycheck. You know, when you're working every 2 weeks, every month, you get that money deposited into your bank account. And that's a feeling of security that you give up when you achieve financial independence. I mean, it sounds counterintuitive, right? You supposedly have achieved financial independence, but your mentality is still dependent on that paycheck. But you have to make this psychological switch. And I say it's psychological because you have the money in your accounts to start living off of those accounts, but the idea of starting to pull from those accounts is always a huge challenge for people. You know, they're used to a W-2. They are used to living life a certain way, knowing that at the end of the month, that money is going to be replenished because their job is going to pay them. But you have to start now all of a sudden living off of your investments. So what does that really mean? That means instead of you receiving a check from someone else, you have to start to send a check to yourself, right? You set it up in reverse. Maybe now your investment accounts are paying you that paycheck every 2 weeks. So you set up a automatic draft from your brokerage to your bank account. Or you pull that money out every month or every quarter or every year. But the idea is now, instead of depositing, you are withdrawing. And that has always been one of those things that, I mean, when we first started doing it, it was like, wow, okay, we have to start doing this. How's this gonna work? And we figured it out, and it just runs like clockwork.
I think another thing that's hard for people is, especially for people with a lower risk tolerance, when they're relying solely on their stock portfolio, for example, I think they can become more anxious with the volatility of the stock market after they fire.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. But if you are constantly watching the stock market, you're going to be very anxious. And I think someone that is in fire, they have to have this very long-term understanding of how the stock market works and how that consistently over time the stock market has gone up, has appreciated on average 8 to 10%. So yes, there are years when it's down, but there are a lot more years when it's up, and that average has always been up. And so if you keep that long-term perspective in mind and you're not watching it daily, then you can move away from that anxiety. And you can have this perspective of like, okay, I know that over time, over the long run, I'm going to be consistently growing my wealth in my stock portfolios that I can live off of.
I think one of the things we talk to people about too is just having a very significant emergency fund. Can you talk about that and how that can help sometimes reduce some of the anxiety?
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you are just living a normal life, right? You're not in fire, you have a 9 to 5. You have a typical emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. That's the rule of thumb, right? But when you are fire, your emergency fund has to be set up a little differently. It has to be set up based off of the worst case scenarios of the stock market crashing, and you cannot pull from your stock portfolio during the crash. So a stock market emergency fund is what we call it, right? It's that crash emergency fund where we've set aside money not for 3 to 6 months, but for 2 to 3 years. In case the stock market crashes, instead of pulling from our stock portfolio, we can pull from our stock portfolio emergency fund, which is usually in a money market account, which is usually in CDs or in cash, and we can live off of that instead of pulling from our stock market fund when the market is low. And so that's something that we set up towards the end of our journey, right? We set aside that emergency fund to live off of in case the stock market crashed.
So one of the things is an emergency fund. I think that helps. And I also think if people have diversification in terms of the assets that they're drawing their income from. So can you talk more about real estate and owning stocks or having
Yeah.
a business or
Yeah.
different ways to generate income?
Yeah. So our approach has always been like this holistic approach, comprehensive approach to building wealth, right? Where we have the stock market, we have real estate, and then we have passive income that we set up from our side hustles. We would have been fine just living off of our stock portfolio, but we wanted to have almost like multiple streams of income from this diverse portfolio of investments, right? So, of course, we have our stock market portfolio, we have our Airbnb, and then we have the passive income that we generate from our side hustles. It's a multitude of things all going at once, and it's this diversification that gives you more confidence when you're on fire.
So, for example, if the stock market is down, you can rely on income from other streams.
Let me let the street sweeper leave. Wait, so what was your follow on?
So I was saying that when someone is investing solely in the stock market, for example, they're really tied to how the stock market performs. But if they are able to generate income from other side hustles, passive side hustles, or investing in real estate, that allows them to be more flexible with how they pull money to pay for their expenses.
Yeah. You know, the other thing about having other investments outside of the stock market, I think for most people, the barrier to entry is the lowest when it comes to investing in the stock market, right? But if you are going to invest in real estate, if you are going to invest in other businesses, the potential for returns are actually greater, right? And you have more control over how that wealth can grow. When you invest in the stock market, you're pretty much at the whim of the economy and the companies that make up the stock market. And so I like the idea of investing in these other asset classes because it gives you greater potential for building wealth. And we're a good example of that. If you look at how we built wealth with real estate, we were able to build a lot of wealth with real estate in a relatively fast amount of time, thanks to living and flipping in properties, Airbnb-ing, selling properties. I mean, just everything that we could do to add additional value to the real estate beyond what the stock market could give us. When we lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, we took a $17,000 down payment investment into a property and turned that into over $300,000 in capital gains, right? That's amazing leverage. And we did that in less than 5 years. I think we did it in 3 years actually. So you can't do that by investing in the stock market.
Okay, so we talked about some of the things that can be difficult for people to get used to once they fire.
Yeah.
But what are some of the greatest benefits you think to reaching financial independence and retiring early?
I think it can be summed up really with one word. There are so many benefits, but the ultimate benefit is freedom. Hands down, freedom. And I mean that at every level of the word, right? Emotional, physical, the ability just to have peace of mind that is really free. We are here in London this week on a totally spontaneous trip. We just decided we just want to go to London, and we didn't have anything holding us back. No jobs, no bosses. Money wasn't an issue. It was something that we could do because we just wanted to do it, and that's what really the financial independence is all about. It's the freedom that it allows you to be able to live life how you want to, and it's just an amazing feeling.
All right, so how do we always end every video? You got to do it by yourself.
Oh, if you like this video, if it's giving you food for thought, join the journey.
No.
Give us a thumbs up. But really, with our videos, our hope is that people watch them and they take action. So that's if you can do one thing after watching this video, it's to learn more about financial independence, ways to make, save, and invest money so that you can truly live life on your terms. So the homework for you is to go back and watch all of our videos, to look at the link in our bio. We have a ton of free resources down there. We have recommendations for books, for courses, for videos. Take full advantage, because in this day and age, there's no excuse why you can't accomplish this journey. And so if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and
Join the journey.